Welcome back, everyone. We now have the gameplay trailers for both Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman. So let's quickly take a look at everything you might have missed in these gameplay trailers. Starting off with the Invisible Woman, she is a strategist with 250 HP. Her primary fire can heal or deal damage, and it acts almost like a boomerang with the possibility to pass through teammates and enemies twice, which would then pretty much double the damage and double the healing instead of just passing through once. Her primary fire has 10 ammo with an average timed reload animation. So this being the Invisible Woman, obviously she has invisibility. So this is actually going to be one of her out of combat passives. Sue's spacebar ability is a double jump that helps create distance between you and an enemy and seems to turn her invisible for a split second on activation. This has a cooldown of 6 seconds. Her right click is a shield that activates in front of a teammate, and this shield has 300 health and does an initial burst of healing on the target at activation. However, the shield is not attached to the player and only at the player's location, so the player can still run around the shield. It is not attached to them. It also seems that while the shield is activated, you can press F to cancel the shield and start its cooldown a little earlier, rather than waiting for the shield to die. This has a cooldown of 6 seconds and it starts once the shield is destroyed. Her shift ability causes slowness and damage over time to enemies within the ability's range and has a fairly good size area of effect. This has a cooldown of 12 seconds. Her E ability creates a tunnel that does initial damage and knockback. Before confirmation of the ability, you can confirm whether to push or pull the enemies towards you. This has a cooldown of 8 seconds. Her ultimate not only turns you invisible, but does an initial burst of healing and continues to heal over time as long as your team is within its range. Even though you will be invisible, you could still deal damage and take damage if you're hit. This ultimate lasts for 8 seconds and has a very large area of effect. The Invisible Woman looks like she's going to have a super fun kit, and it's nice to see some different support abilities coming into the strategist role. Now let's get on to Mr. Fantastic. Mr. Fantastic is a duelist with a base HP of 350, but that can change as we will shortly see. His primary fire allows his stretchy arms to reach out and punch enemies for a good chunk of damage. If you time it right, you can drag his arms at their full extension across to others and deal damage to multiple enemies. His primary fire has no ammo, well, because it's his arms. However, his primary fire animation is slow and seems like it'll take some getting used to. His right click allows you to grab two enemies, dealing small initial damage, but then collides them in air, dealing massive damage. This seems to constrict enemies, making them immobile and not able to use abilities. However, you don't have to use this on two enemies, as you can use both arms to constrict one enemy as well. This has a cooldown of 6 seconds. His shift allows you to stretch and absorb incoming damage, including some ultimates like what we see in the trailer with Iron Man's ult, and bounce it back towards the enemy. This has a cooldown of 12 seconds. His E ability allows you to quickly close the distance between you and allies or enemies. This will give shield for allies and damage to enemies. This has a maximum of 2 charges, taking up 6 seconds to recharge one, or a total of 12 seconds for both. You may have noticed Mr. Fantastic has this bar that charges up when dealing damage. This is his passive ability, and once it hits 100%, he goes into overdrive. He gets 680 health and overshield and deals far more damage. However, he cannot use any abilities during this time. It lasts for 6 seconds, but you can exit it early by pressing F. His ultimate allows you to leap into the air, dealing massive damage on impact with a large area of effect. You can bounce for a total of 6 attacks in his ultimate, but make sure you land your attack on an enemy or else you can't bounce again. Just like the Invisible Woman, I think Mr. Fantastic has a super cool and interesting kit, something that we haven't really seen yet in the game, so I'm excited to see how he actually plays. Anyways, guys, we're still super close to 2,000 subscribers, so I appreciate the support there, and stay tuned for more content as we're getting a lot more very soon these next couple of days with the season starting very soon. Anyways, guys, have a good one and peace.